plastic space guns that you used to have when you were a kid.
Yeah, right.
There's just noise out there.
Okay. The September 27, 2021 meeting of the New Ulm Human Rights Commission is now called to order. First item of business is the approval of the minutes. The minutes are provided for you on our agenda through the link. Are there any questions on the agenda?
No, sir.
Nope.
If so, do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
I will second that.
Motion has been made and seconded to approve the minutes as presented. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion passes. We accept the minutes. Next item of business is our budget report for this last year. If you'll notice, we still have roughly 89% of our budget left, which will go fast once we start our poster and essay contest. Are there any questions on the financial report?
No.
Most of that was from the Bavarian Blast and the county fair handouts. Our next item of business is the events committee report. We have a human rights award, actually 2 nominations of the same nomination. Just for means of protocol, I'm going to read the criteria for the Human Rights Award. Annually, the recipient of the New Ulm Human Rights Commission Annual Human Rights Award should be an individual, activist, organization, or business in the New Ulm area that has worked towards social justice and the betterment of life for a protected class. A person or organization that has made a significant contribution to the preservation and advancement of human rights. Human rights are considered the fundamental rights that humans have by the fact of being human, and that are neither created nor can be abrogated by any government. These include cultural, economic, and political rights, such as right to life, liberty, education, equality before law, and right of association, belief, free speech, information, religion, movement, and nationality. The Minnesota Department of Human Rights is the state agency within the governor's cabinet responsible for enforcing the Minnesota Human Rights Act. The Human Rights Act is a state law prohibiting discrimination in Minnesota. Every person in Minnesota is protected by the Human Rights Act because every person, based on their personal characteristics, such as a person's race or sex, belongs to one or more of the protected classes below, which include race, color, creed, religion, national origin, sex, marital status, familial status, disability, public assistance status, age, sexual orientation, and local rights, Human Rights Commission activity. We have 2 nominations. The first nomination I'll read comes from one of our members. The first nomination is Chief Dave Borchert of the New Ulm Police Department. Chief Borchert has been an incredible asset to this community and a strategic partner with the New Ulm Human Rights Commission. He attends meetings and has sought input from the commission on at least 2 separate occasions. The first one, his department was implementing policy and procedures for public access to body-worn cameras. Chief Borchert wanted to make sure that the public had a chance to actually shape policy so that those who wanted access to that information could get it while protecting the rights of others who may be in the video. The second occasion is when the chief came to us to discuss a program he wanted to bring to the New Ulm Police Department, which involved assisting his officers identifying mental health crises by the officers, receiving alerts for certain individuals who officers may be near, looking for, or otherwise encountering. Aside from these partnerships, Chief Borchert has signed NUPD to New Ulm Human Rights Commission statements and flyers in the mail during a time in which there was much unrest between law enforcement and communities of color. We are lucky to have such a dedicated partner and positive presence in our community as Chief Dave Borchert, and he is deserving of this award. Second nomination, I would like to recommend Dave Borchert for the Human Rights Commission's Human Rights Award. As most of you know, Dave is the Chief of Police in New Ulm and is also a Brown County Commissioner. I've been impressed with Dave and his willingness as the Chief of Police to partner with the New Ulm Human Rights Commission in the past. Dave regularly attends meetings and comes to learn as well as contribute. When I first considered nominating Dave for this award based on my own experience, I began talking to others and learned some things many of you may not know. Everyone has stories of how Dave has has and continues to help. Dave does so much for our community, and a lot of it is out of the spotlight and may not be noticed. Dave doesn't do what he does for attention. He does it because promoting people's dignity and helping others to improve the quality of their lives and the community as a whole is a big part of who he is. Dave is a community-minded person and has contributed to the betterment of our area through his professional and personal life. As the chief of police, Dave has spearheaded several innovative programs that work to recognize and protect the rights of our citizens. In 2018, Dave championed the use of a social worker to assist with mental health challenges officers face on some calls. Dave pushed for the Vitals program, which is a way for officers to have more information regarding persons that may have mental health or other issues that would affect the way a call may be handled. Families would input information they once shared, and officers would automatically receive this information when in the proximity of the person wearing the bracelet. Both of these innovative programs and big steps in recognizing and respecting individuals and the issues they face when responding to a call. Dave participates in a program called Coffee with a Cop. He visits apartment complexes, churches, schools, MRCI, etc., and hosts informal talks where citizens can get to know him and other officers, as well as giving the officers an opportunity to get to know their community. Conversations happen where citizens can feel more comfortable bringing up concern and asking questions. This effort makes the officers more approachable and builds a bridge between the police department and the community. Dave also regularly visits Kids Connection and presents a new topic to the kids each week for 6 weeks, promoting safety and outreach. Dave is an organizer for the New Ulm Night Out, which brings the residents and organizations together and highlights community. Dave is also an active participant in the family table events hosted by our local New Ulm One New Ulm group. Through these programs, Dave gives community members a voice, engages them, and makes everyone in our community that much safer for it. Besides the formal programs Dave initiates and participates in, there are little things he does on his own that make big impacts. He is generous with his personal time and money. For example, when someone is in legal trouble for not having insurance or a driver's license, Dave tries to learn why they don't have them and tries to find ways to help. He isn't about just giving a ticket. He is after solving the problem, improving life for that individual. Dave is involved with a mentor program where he works with homeless persons and stays in contact with individuals throughout the years to improve their situation. Dave is a quiet leader who is not afraid to try unique ways of attacking problems to find the best solution for the people he serves. Through both his professional and personal work, he promotes and protects human dignity and the rights of all. For these reasons, I believe Dave Borchert would be an excellent deserving recipient of the New Ulm Human Rights Award for 2021. Those are the only nominations that we received. Is there any discussion?
I just have one thing. One of those is mine, so maybe this is a bit of an addendum to my nomination. But so just, I think, a week, maybe 2 ago, Chief Walker reached out to me and asked if I wanted to participate in a multicultural committee that it's going to explore ways to help individuals get driver's licenses back. It's going to help, navigate kind of that bureaucratic red tape, if you will, just because I think he understands how not being able to drive, you can't get to work, you can't pay, it's just the kind of that cycle, and it disproportionately affects individuals of, the lower socioeconomic status and non-English speakers especially. So, and so just another reason why I think that he's the right fit for this award.
Can we make a motion?
Please.
I would like to move to award the Human Rights Award to Chief and Commissioner Dave Borchert.
There a second?
I'll second.
Any other further discussion? I'll call the question. All those in favor of selecting Chief Dave Borchert as the 2021 New Ulm Human Rights Commission Human Rights Award winner, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Motion passes unanimously. Duly noted.
I feel like we should clap.
Yes. It's been a joy to work with Chief Borchert.
Yeah, never mind.
Go ahead.
No, I was just saying, I think typically we call the recipient right after, so
Right.
we'll do that.
We don't have to do that right now, right?
Not right now, no, yeah, we'll put them on speaker, yeah.
Maybe somebody could let him know via other means of communication.
Anybody here that knows him personally?
Okay, next item on our agenda is the Education Committee report, the poster and essay contest. Wendy, I believe this.
Yeah, so the Education Committee met and came up with the topic for this year. So what I put together was just the letter that I proposed that would go out to the schools explaining the topics for the poster and essay contest, and then also a lesson that would go with them. Whether they choose to use it or not is up to them, but it centers on perspectives and looking at the world through the lens of others. So I can hand these out if you guys would like to see. So the first one that you're getting is the letter that would be coming from the commission, and it also has the entry form that they would use. I did change something this year where we have had separate poster and essay entry forms, which I think is redundant. We're asking essentially the same information on all of them.
Right.
And we will clearly know which contest they're entering by what they attach it to.
Right.
Good idea.
So the poster topic this year would be, and this is the one that would go out through kindergarten through 12th grade, and it would be, how would the world look different if people took the time to see things through others' perspectives? The essay topic, which is for grades 5 through 12, would be, how could considering the perspectives of others while making decisions influence situations in our world? And the specifics are all listed here. We haven't changed any of those from other years. I wasn't sure what the deadline we were going to decide on, so obviously this is, we can change that. I put January 15th only because that's right around Martin Luther King Jr. Day. And I know that's when initially we used to do this award way back, and then we got off of that. So I don't know if that's something we want to, I mean, I guess that's open to discussion. I just put it in there because we needed a date on there. So,
2022.
oh, right. Thank you.
Sure.
Yeah.
So I'll change that. And January is still okay, or does that give us enough time? Do you think that?
I think so.
That gives us October,
Yeah.
November, December, and half of January.
Definitely.
So my perspective as a teacher is I think that if you give too much time, then it gets lost in the shuffle too. And this, we can really center it right around that time period of Martin Luther King Jr. Day, so. All right, everything else on here besides the date that I messed up, look good to everyone, or anything else? Then I'll hand out the lesson, and I can just, you don't have to read this all through, but this is what we'll send out with it, if you are okay with it. And essentially what it is the first page are directions, step by step, there's 5 directions. There is, if you look back on the page where, towards the end, it's a response page, and it says me and then Tom on the other side. So the idea of the lesson is you would fold this down the middle and only have the me showing, and then questions would be asked. How would you feel if your family gets a new dog? How would you feel if, and the questions are all listed on here. If you're at a friend's house for dinner and the mom cooks a delicious beef stew, how are you going to the doctor's office to get, or you're going to the doctor's office to get your medicine? How do you feel? It's just these generic situations. How do you feel about it? Then the teacher would read this story about Tom and his background. They'd flip the sheet over and do the same responses or the same questions, and what would Tom's feelings be on it? Based on, and they're likely going to be very different from his background to what the child answered. And it's just an idea of, okay, same questions, completely different answers. Why is that? And then it leads into a discussion on that. There's a graphic in here to show that little iceberg thing, which didn't print out extra well. It looked a lot better in color. What we don't see influences on feelings and behaviors. So on the top, we see that what we see is the reaction to the situation, and underneath is what we don't see. Okay, what's driving the reaction to that situation? So there is a top to the iceberg. It just, like I said, really it translates to black and white. So the idea is just how you may see things isn't how everyone sees things based on past experiences and situations. And again, it's not a requirement. It's just something if teachers wanted to use it, we would have it. Otherwise, they could just present this any way they really wanted to.
I like it. Thank you, Wendy.
Thank you, Wendy.
Yes.
We should probably approve the topic formally,
Okay.
so they're all of one mind.
I move to approve the topic.
Second.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded. to take a look at the topic from different people, see different things, and looking at issues from the perspective of others as our topics for this year. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Nay. Motion passes.
Who seconded? I missed it.
Chad and Kristen, I think.
Okay, tie.
They were pretty fast.
Yes, all right. All right, so I will, I'll fix the date and I'll get packets together, and then what we typically do is then distribute them to local schools. We put it in the newspaper so that homeschool kids can do it, and then we divide up who delivers them to, and maybe if we can, because the sooner we get it out, the better, especially
Yes.
since I dated this October 1st. So I don't know if maybe we can just, do we have to do that formally? to
No,
say
we
who
don't have to
goes
do that
where?
formally.
Okay.
We can-
We'll figure it out then. But I'll
Okay.
make copies.
Item 5.2, the Mankato Area Greater Diversity Council. To
Okay.
remind everybody, we had met about hosting some race relation community talks. I'll leave it at that. We hadn't decided so far. We've been in contact with the Mankato Area Greater Diversity Council and trying to plan something this fall, but we believe, Wendy, that we're going to postpone that.
Yeah, so we're still trying to format exactly what we're going to do, but the fear is that we were going to see what COVID does, because we do need, for what we have planned, it's going to be a big, we'll have a lot of people there.
Face-to-face.
Face-to-face, small groups breaking off and then coming back together. So we just want to be certain that we're going to be able to pull that off. And we wanted to wait and see what's happening with COVID. We're going to do, I mean, we've committed to do it with them for sure. And I think, I don't know, did we get a time
No.
for when we met, as far as when we're going to revisit? But I think, I did talk to the director at a local event and recently, and he does want to get moving on it. So I think maybe just having another sit down and see, I mean, I don't want to stalemate on it either, because we can sit here and COVID can be for years. So we do want to move on it, but,
Safely.
we want to move on it safely, yep. So I guess what we can put in here is I just maybe have another sit down with them and kind of see what can be managed.
Okay. Any questions? Okay, good. Our next item is referring to a letter that we responded to on September 2nd regarding the signs and where the signs come from. We responded as an executive committee, explaining how it works and what our role was. I'll read our response. The New Ulm Human Rights Commission would like to respond to a letter by Lisa Fisher, printed Tuesday, August 31st. In her letter, Lisa implies that the commission acted unethically by using taxpayer funds to finance yard signs for community members. The commission has issued an annual budget approved by the city to use as the commission sees fit. Some things that have been financed in the past are educational speakers, the annual poster and essay contest prizes, entry fees for parades and fair booths, the annual Human Rights Award, Commission Award, as well as educational materials available to the public. The signs fall into the latter category and work towards our mission of securing equal opportunity for all citizens in business, credit, education, employment, housing, public accommodation, and public services. All money spent out of the HRC budget are approved at public meetings. This information, along with meeting agendas and minutes, has been and will continue to be available to the public. The message on the signs Lisa referred to states, "If you want peace, work for justice," not "no peace, no justice," as she claimed. This is a direct quote from Pope Paul VI from his statement of the World Peace Day in 1972. It is a positive statement without political bias. It is hoped that all could agree peace and justice are important and worth striving for. Without justice, peace, as well as the above-mentioned mission, are unattainable. We encourage everyone to work towards justice for all, and the yard signs are a reminder to do so. The Human Rights Commission stands by the sentiment on the yard signs and the decision to use taxpayers' money to fund them. If you would like a yard sign, please contact the mayor's office. Are there any questions on that letter? We're good? Okay. You want
I got a screen.
to just wait it for do it, or what?
Yep.
Okay. Yes?
Yep.
Okay. The executive committee also had a letter which appeared in the Saturday version of the journal.
It was Friday. Wasn't it Friday? I think it was Friday.
Okay, Friday journal, dealing with transgender issues.
The wrong one is linked on here?
Yeah, I don't,
Not on
I don't think it's on here.
it didn't make it on the agenda.
Yeah.
Okay. Maybe, we still need to read it though, so I can find a
I
copy
think
of it?
so. I
Okay.
think it'd be worthwhile
Give
reading
me
if
a
you've got
moment to
that, Wendy.
find it. I'm sure I do.
Apologize.
I'm just glad it's not my technology messing up right now. Put that in the minutes.
Wendy's working.
Okay.
My tablet's still loading. That helps.
Mine is too.
Okay, you want to go ahead and read that?
You want me to read it, Dan, or do you want to read it? I
I
can read
can-
it. I can read it.
Okay.
Well,
All right, to the editor. The New Ulm Human Rights Commission would like to respond to the letter to the editor by Gigi Rizdal, published on September 22nd, addressing transgender youth. Transgender individuals are protected from discrimination under the 1964 Civil Rights Act. So much damage can be done with words, and this letter disparaging LGBTQ youth and those supporting them only serves to jeopardize their safety. Let's look at the real measurable damage to children. According to the Trevor Project, transgender youth have significantly increased rates of depression and suicide compared with their peers, not because there is anything wrong with these individuals, but because they are members of a society that villainizes their existence. Simple acceptance is all it takes to literally save lives. More research can be found at, and there's a link to the William Institute. There is plenty of science to demonstrate that gender is not simply male or female, but is instead a spectrum. Ms. Rizdal stated that it is wrong to dictate the emotional and physical future of our offspring. That is 100% correct. By forcing a person into a gender role that you feel is appropriate for them, that is precisely what is being done. Every human being has the innate right to be treated equally based on who they are, not who others think they should be. It is part of human nature to fear or be skeptical of things we do not understand. There's a wealth of information out there that may help you. Start with the Human Rights Campaign at it's hrc.org. Link, and there's another link to the Mayo Systems. They also have information at mayoclinic.org/healthy lifestyle adult health and transgender facts. Understanding is the first step towards true human rights for all. At best, transphobia serves only to divide us and see others as something less than incredible human beings. At worst, it results in avoidable tragedy and the potential loss of life. To the transgender citizens of New Ulm, you are valued. You are guaranteed the same rights as everyone else in the community. You are loved. If you are in need of support, please reach out. Counselors of the Trevor Project are available to support you 24/7 if you are in crisis, feeling suicidal, or in need of a safe and judgment-free place to talk. Call the Trevor line, and then the number is listed. If you feel discriminated against, please contact the Human Rights Commission via the mayor's office, and that's signed the executive committee. So that was, I think, yeah, last week that was filed in the paper, and just to kind of bring everyone up to speed a little bit, there has been some public pressure to retract that letter, and since we are assembled here in Bonk, all of us are here, I'm going to put it to everyone on the commission. Is there anyone that would like to retract that letter? Okay. So no motion or nobody moved to. When you just let the minutes reflect that nobody moved to retract the letter. I forget the date. Sorry.
does anyone have the date? Because it's not printed on the agenda here either.
No.
I'll look it up after.
Yep. All right.
Thank you, Dan.
Yep.
All right, the Public Relations Committee, I don't believe we have a report. Right?
No.
No. Okay. Current human rights issues If you would please direct yourself to the addendum under the Human Rights Commission. There's a document which I gathered and put together for our reading. Recently, there has been quite a bit of discussion, both in New Ulm and other communities, about the existence of hate groups. You need to go to the main agenda again.
Okay, I didn't even touch it.
I'll just read the document.
You did break it.
The two things that I included, the one is a definition by the Anti-Defamation League of what a hate group is. An organization whose goals and activities are primarily or substantially based on a shared antipathy towards people of one or more different races, religions, ethnicities, nationalities, national origins, genders, and/or sexual identities. The mere presence of bigoted members in a group or organization is typically not enough to qualify it as a hate group. The group itself must have some hate-based orientation/purpose. So it's not necessarily individuals in the group, but rather the group itself. The second definition comes from the Southern Poverty Law Center, which defines a hate group as an organization. It's very similar, by the way. A hate group as an organization or collection of individuals that, based on its official statements or principles, the statements of its leaders or its activities, has beliefs or practices that attack or malign an entire class of people, typically for their immutable characteristics. An organization does not need to have engaged in criminal conduct or have followed their speech with unlawful action to be labeled a hate group. We do not list individuals as hate groups, only organizations. If you remember correctly, the New Ulm dodged a bullet of a listed, denotedly designed hate group as a white supremacist group, Asatru, is that Asatru?
Asatru.
Asatru, that tried to buy a church down the street here. And they wound up in Murdoch, and I was in on a training session with anti-hate groups, and Murdoch was involved in that, and it hasn't been pretty up there. The Southern Poverty Law Center lists organizations such as the Family Research Council as anti-LGBTQ hate groups because they use dehumanizing language and pseudo-scientific falsehoods to malign LGBTQ people. Some anti-LGBTQ hate groups support the criminalization of LGBTQ people in the United States and abroad, often marshaling the same debunked myths and demonizing claims in their efforts. A major misconception, and one that is deliberately promoted by anti-LGBT hate groups in order to accuse the Southern Poverty Law Center of being anti-Christian, is that the Southern Poverty Law Center considers opposition to same-sex marriage or the belief that being LGBTQ is a sin as the sole basis for the hate group label. This is false. There are many organizations such as Focus on the Family and hundreds of churches and other religious establishments that oppose marriage equality or oppose being LGBTQ on strictly biblical grounds that the SPLC does not list as hate groups. I thought it was useful to have information on what it is, a hate group, as opposed to a hate crime. Obviously, when something that they do become elevated to an action becomes a hate crime. The definitions, the federal definitions for a hate crime are very similar to the definitions of hate groups, similar definitions. I thought it'd be useful to maybe serve this as a background information. As we watch, there are 11 listed hate groups in Minnesota currently. Most of them are white supremacist in nature. There are a couple other groups that are a little more, there are some groups that are anti-Islam or Islamophobic groups that exist in certain parts of the state as well. But I thought this is a good starting point to begin discussions on what hate groups are and what they can do to a community in a negative perspective. I'm going to leave that at that. Any comments or questions? I think Human Rights Commission should be aware of these definitions and be prepared to discuss as things arise in our community. I don't think we're immune from the possibility of hate groups forming in our community. From my contacts and other human rights commissioners across the southern part of the state, western part of the state, there's a lot of pseudo hate groups starting to form, and we should be aware of that and be careful of that. And they're often using terms like very patriotic terms in their names. Like life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness.org or whatever, so they'll often have those kinds of names listed in there, and they're really just another replacement for white supremacy in a lot of instances. Any other comments on that one? Okay, back to the agenda. Dan, any legislative updates?
No, nothing that caught my eye is working its way through right now.
They haven't been in session for a while
Yeah.
now. City Council liaison?
Also me, and nothing to report.
Okay, when is your term up for that, do you know?
Good question. I think I got one more. I think
Okay,
this is
one more
2 or
month?
3. Isn't that what we're doing?
Yeah, 3
at a
months, yeah,
time?
yeah. Okay, any other business that we haven't taken care of? Just a reminder that we still have a vacancy. Anybody interested in fulfilling a vacancy should contact Mayor Sweeney and put their name forward. Casey, I think you were the last one on, right? That's what you did, right? Or except the previous mayor, yeah. So if you know of anybody, please encourage them. I checked with the mayor's office just this afternoon, and we don't have anybody officially yet ready to take on the reins.
And if I may, Mr. Chair, it might be useful actually to email Lisa Grothwell at the city. It's kind of a nice, there's a few bullet points on just characteristics of
Commissioner.
individuals, commissioners that we
Great.
want. And so if you're stuck, maybe that'll help get some people.
There are some excellent resources on the city website regarding both commissions, and if you look at the right places, I think every time we get a new commissioner, I've made sure that we get a whole packet of information as far as what the responsibilities are and the expectations are. I'd like to take a moment to publicly thank our law enforcement for coming tonight. We appreciate the time. Our next meeting then is scheduled for Monday, October 25th at 5:15. That concludes our business on our agenda. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
Oh,
To adjourn.
I'll second.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Nay? Meeting is adjourned.